Tears kept flowing down uncontrollably down the cheeks of Victoria. She has failed her parents. She has forgotten all her mother went through just to make sure she attends one of the best schools in New York after the death of her father. Oh, how she has messed up. Elizabeth had struggled a lot. She cleared people's farmland, she hawked foodstuffs along the way. She ran after vehicles just to make sales even under the rain, because she wanted to keep the dream of the family alive. Vivi, my child, I know your dad has left us alone in this world. But I'm making a promise to you that I will try all my possible best to make sure you realize your dream of becoming a surgeon. I don't know how, but I know God will make it possible. Also promise me that you won't let me or your father down. I won't, Mama, Vicky replied with a smile. I promise to do my best and make you and Papa proud. That's why I love you, Vivi. You're just like your father, Elizabeth said, holding the chin of Vicky. Victoria remembered the promise she had made to her mother, and tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably as she continued to ask her mother to forgive her. Vicky, Vicky, Vicky. Someone kept calling. She turned back and it was her friend Amaka. She heard what happened and came to console her, but she didn't see her at home. Instead, someone had told her she ran towards the house of Corporal Michael. What are you doing in front of Corporal Michael's house? You should be at home receiving those that want to pay their condolence for the death of your mum. Vicky looked at Amaka. What was she going to answer? That Corporal Michael impregnated her and ran away. Or that she killed her mother ? She knew her mother had high blood pressure, BP. Why didn't she even think of that before allowing Corporal Michael deceive her? Her tears began flowing again and she shook her head. No, nothing, she answered and started crying again. The Marker was aware Victoria liked Michael, but never knew she was already visiting him. Victoria had it kept a secret from everyone, including her best friend Amaka. The Marker helped her to stand up from where she was sitting on the ground and tried wiping the dirt from her body. She held Victoria by her hand and took her back to her parents' house. The more people came to say sorry to Vicky, the more she cried, knowing fully the cause of her mother's death. Amaka didn't leave Vicky's side. She decided to stay with her. When Amaka's parents found out what had befallen Vicky, they took pity on her, they have always known Victoria is a very good and intelligent girl. So they decided to take her to their house to stay with them. They promised to take care of her. That was the much they can do for her as their daughter's best friend. Vicky was so happy her world wasn't over yet. Amaka helped Victoria to pack few of her stuffs and took her to her house. The Marker's parents promised Victoria that they would take care of her school fees too. Vicky was filled with joy. Thank you, Ma and Sir, she said to Amaka's parents. I promise I will never let you down, Vicky said to Amaka's parents, who nodded with a smile. Victoria hugged Amaka and they both went into Amaka's room. Vicky tried to put her past behind her as Amaka had advised her. As the day go by, Mrs. Fockham, Amaka's mother, just started noticing that Victoria was pregnant. She wanted to be sure. When she confirmed the fact that Victoria was actually pregnant, Mrs. Fockham threw Victoria out of her house with the little bag she had moved into their house with. Amaka kept begging her mother to let Vicky stay, but the plea fell on deaf ears. No wonder your mother died. I'm sure she found out her daughter has become a prostitute. Leave my house before you corrupt my daughter, Mrs. Fockham said as she threw Victoria's things out of her house. She warned Amaka never to associate herself ever again with Victoria. The words of Mrs. Fockham were too painful. Victoria could feel sharp pains in her heart. She held her heart as she fell on the floor, crying out buckets of tears.